They said his sword could hear the wind breathe. Before his blade even moved, his opponent's fate was already written. In the misty mountains of Edo, one name whispered through every dojo: Renzō Takahata. Morning fog clung to the pine trees. Villagers gathered outside the dojo gates, holding their breath. Inside, the old master stood barefoot, one hand resting on the hilt of his blade, Kagehana, the shadow blossom. They said he fought 57 duels, and not once did he draw blood without reason. His blade did not kill, it danced. His legend had already outgrown the man himself. When he walked, even the wind seemed to bow. His students whispered tales of the impossible, how he once sliced falling rain, how he sensed intent before it was born. For years, Renzō lived caged within his own perfection. But perfection breeds silence, and silence breeds pride. That morning, a new face stepped through the mist, barefoot, dirt-stained, smelling of the rice fields, 16 years old. No noble blood, no family crest. His name was Sota. "Why have you come here, farmer's son?" "To learn, sensei. Even a farmer must learn to stand tall before the wind." The dojo chuckled at the boy's courage, but in that laughter, Renzō saw something, a stillness, a hunger he once knew, and so he let the boy stay. That night, under the flicker of oil lamps, the master cleaned his blade in silence. The steel shimmered like moonlight, and he whispered to his reflection, "A blade that never misses, what does it fear?" And the answer, though he did not know it yet, was simple. A blade that never misses fears only one thing: the fall.
The next morning, the dojo smelled of rain-soaked wood and old incense. Cherry blossoms drifted through the open windows, landing softly on the polished floor, like memories refusing to die. Master Renzō stood before his students, his voice calm yet heavy, like a blade half unsheathed. "Perfection," he said, "is not a goal, it is a duty. The moment a samurai forgets this, he ceases to be one." The disciples nodded in silence. Every word their master spoke was law, carved not in paper, but in discipline and fear. Among them stood Sota, his hands blistered, his movements clumsy, but his eyes, those quiet, searching eyes, saw things others did not. And then, one afternoon, as the light dimmed and the dojo grew quiet, Sota saw it. A thin hairline crack near the hilt of Sensei's blade. It caught the sunlight like a whisper of imperfection. He hesitated, then spoke. "Sensei, your blade!" The room froze. Even the wind held its breath. Renzō turned slowly, his eyes narrowing. "What about it, boy?" Sota gulped. "There's a small crack near the hilt." For a heartbeat, silence. Then, laughter. Not from Renzō, but from the students. A farmer's son, daring to find flaw in the blade that never failed. Renzō's voice cut through the laughter, like steel through silk. "Do you doubt your master's eye, boy?" Sota bowed, trembling. "No, sensei, I only saw what the light showed." He turned away, he said coldly. "Light deceives the ignorant. Train until your eyes are worthy of truth." Sota lowered his gaze and whispered, almost to himself, "Even light does not lie, sensei." That night, when silence returned, Renzō lifted Kagehana once more. The flame kissed its edge, and there it was. The crack, real. His hand trembled for the first time in years. He stared at his reflection, voice barely a whisper. Even the purest steel carries the memory of fire. He placed the sword down gently, not out of reverence, but fear. And for the first time, the man who never missed began to understand what it meant to fall.
The sky hung heavy that morning, swollen with rain clouds that wandered down from the mountains. The air smelled of wet earth and something waiting to happen. Word spread through the mountains. The man who never lost was to face a challenger, a wanderer named Iori, whose sword moved like the winter wind, cold, invisible, merciless. Sota watched from the edge of the crowd, his heart pounding faster than the rain. When the two bowed, even the sky held its breath. Blades met once, twice, thrice, thunder answering thunder. The master's rhythm held until the stone beneath his foot, slick with rain, betrayed him. A whisper of steel, a cut so small, yet it shattered eternity. The man who had never bled finally did. Iori bowed, his voice calm. Even the finest tree must bow when the wind changes. The master bowed in return, not out of pride, but necessity. That night, the rain did not stop. Renzō sat alone, staring at the blade that once defined him. The crack had grown, and in it, his reflection had shattered. A blade cannot serve pride, only truth. And for the first time, the master who never missed finally learned what it meant to be human.
3 days had passed since the duel. The rain was gone, but the air still smelled of wet earth and regret. The dojo gates stayed closed, and silence hung like a wound, refusing to heal. Whispers filled the dojo. "Has the master lost his spirit?" they asked, but Sota knew better. Sometimes when a mountain falls silent, it is only remembering how to rise again. That evening, Renzō left the dojo quietly. The air smelled of wet soil and burning straw, a scent of endings and beginnings. There in the fading orange light stood Sota, striking, missing, falling, rising again. No anger, no shame, only effort. Renzō watched from the shadows, each movement of the boy echoing the rhythm of his own past. He saw not a student, but a reflection of what he once was. The master spoke softly. I once believed perfection was strength, but perfection is a wall, and I built it so high I forgot the ground beneath me." Sota smiled. "Even monkeys fall from trees, sensei." The master laughed quietly. "And what then?" The boy raised his stick. "Then they climb again." That night, under the hum of cicadas and the whisper of wind, they trained together. Each swing, each fall, not perfection, but harmony. Humility took the shape of grace.
The valley breathed again. The dojo doors, long closed, opened to morning mist. For the first time in decades, the master stood not above them, but beside them. "I taught you to fear mistakes, to chase perfection, but a sword without humility is only a mirror for a man's ego." This boy reminded me that even a master must sometimes be a student again. And the undefeated master bowed, not in defeat, but in truth. And in that silence, something ancient broke, and something eternal was born. A true master is not one who never loses, but one who never stops learning. For the first time in years, he walked not as a warrior of war, but as a guardian of peace. In the end, it was never the sword that made him legendary. It was the courage to bow and rise again. Because true mastery isn't in victory, it's in humility.